here we go. This factor that I want to discuss first this week is like, I've been saying it for years and years and years. And then there was a whole thing online about the petrodollar and how the American banking and economic system controls the flow of energy, really, in terms of oil and so on, because they had organized an agreement with Saudi Arabia that all oil sales would be conducted in dollars. So that sort of created this. The Americans have sort of like exclusive rights to their currency being used to purchase energy, like one of the most incredibly dense forms of energy. And it gives them a lot of power. Then I'm like looking at what money is. That money is not real, really. I mean, it has very little energy value. And I'm thinking, here we are slaving and working our lives away, sort of enslaved to money, when in actual fact, money has no energy value. It's really not what it's supposed to be. It just represents, it's a belief. And that monetary system is killing. We're using it to chop down trees to make cupboards and tables and chairs and make products to acquire money, which is not real energy. So we're killing living systems that have this ability to accumulate energy throughout their lifetimes and contribute to the energy systems of the planet. We're killing them to get dead money that has no intrinsic energy value. And to me, that's like absolute insanity. And also the concept that we live in a monopolistic system. So by us trapped in the belief in money, we are empowering those in power to take everything they can away from us. Our land, our food, our water, everything. They're taking everything. All because we want to continue playing this game of Monopoly. To me, that's like, I just can't comprehend. I cannot put it together. It's insane. So I wrote this. Sustainable systems are localized. They, in smaller areas, and circular, and returning energy into the system, like composting waste locally into the earth. So you have all of this excess waste from, garden clippings or the food that you don't eat, and you put it into your compost and you turn it into this rich humus, and you then put it into the soil to nourish future plants and life. So it's a circular system. You take out and you put back. And the same goes for the need for energy within a community to stay there. If something comes out of the energy system, or the community, within the community, like you share your apples and oranges and so on. But if it comes out of the system and we benefit, then the energy that we have must return to the system. Monopolistic linear abstract extraction systems suck the energy out. It's an extraction system to take it elsewhere, to suck the energy, power, life, and wealth out of systems. Thus, they become unsustainable. You can't keep on sucking out and never putting back and expect it to continue working. By supporting monopolistic monetary systems, we are converting living, expanding, growing systems into dead products for abstract, relatively energyless money. Monetary systems are based on our indoctrinated belief in the necessity for money to trade. True energy is natural and living energy. We don't need money to survive and thrive. We need energy, life, biodiversity, and the efficient use and reuse of energy. Like if you can use the energy of water gravitating down the property, and then reuse it and use it all the way down the property until it reaches the point where you can't use that energy anymore, and then let it go and let somebody else benefit from its progressive energy use, or providing energy downstream for whoever is further down the hill. We need to be living in a fair, sharing, giving, and receiving world. You know, if you have too many oranges or apples, then share with your neighbors, because they might have some more a little later and then share with you. We need people who are living together with an intimate appreciation of the energy accumulation or growth of living energy systems, the long-term value of life, and the living ecosystems and communities. It's like we're always selling the goose that lays the golden egg. It's like chop down the trees, make money, and the trees are gone. But what about how much energy that those trees accumulated, all of the relationships, all of the things that they did for that ecosystem, and then how much they would have grown, and how much carbon dioxide they would have sequestered from the atmosphere, how much more oxygen would they have produced, how much more fruit would they have produced, how throughout their lives. It's like, how can you put a price on something at one instant in its existence when it is really priceless over its whole lifespan, and all of the relationships and everything that it does for that environment? Ideally, we want to have a moneyless world. If there is any energy representative currency within a community, those are the limits in which they must stay. They must stay within the community. If it's a local community currency, to be able to like spread the labor and whatever within the community, if that's where the currency stays and is constantly feeding back, I buy from you, you buy from me, and there's this constant back and forth within the community, then that's a lot more desirable than an absolute monopolistic system, which is controlled by American elite bankers or whoever. You don't want it to be a monopolized monetary system. But unfortunately, even starting a system of local currency always means that it will naturally be monopolized. These guys say, oh no, we'll accept their currency and their currency and their currency, and you know, it's fine. And eventually, blah, 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 we end up with one currency and it owned by owners somewhere in another part of the world that are extracting the wealth from our communities. However, moving non-violently from the existing system to the future, to that future we want, requires the short-term use of money. Unless there was a global acceptance of a moneyless principle, like bam, okay, we're not touching money from now. It's now we're going to grow and we're going to create energy systems, and everyone's going to contribute their effort to ensure the future, and we don't want money, we don't accept money, we just do. If that were the case, then it would be great. But right now we have to transition, and in transitioning, we have to use money. So my question is, why do we play Monopoly if we know only one man wins that game? I mean, anybody who's playing Monopoly knows that. Only one man can win. And he always does. Sustainability is also about relationships. It's about magnetism, about chemistry. It's about the reasons to coexist, connectivity, giving and receiving, proximity, being in a community, love, kindness, giving and receiving, connectedness, balancing, harmony between everyone in the community and the living systems. Everything is cyclical around sustainability. It's the moment you go out of that cyclical, either figure of eight or circular, localized concept of flow, life will cease to exist if it isn't cyclical. So continuous extraction and consumption caused by monopolistic and money-based systems are unsustainable because they will eventually run out of resources, products, sales, accumulation of wealth. And most importantly, they'll run out of energy, which is vibrations, energy, and life. They'll die. You just can't keep on sucking the blood out of something and expect it to keep on living. It's just not going to happen. So anyone want to say anything about that?
Other than I just agree. No, I don't have anything to say.
Brennan?
I agree with you 100%. What I would like to add to the topic is that there are ways to get around using money if you want to change the way that you live. I mean, simply go and put your hands in some soil, you know? There are certain things you can do without needing money whatsoever. You can go to your neighbor and get clippings of, I don't know, a granadilla bush and start yourself a little granadilla garden, you know? Something simple.
Yeah, and it's all a case of asking and giving and receiving. It's like the whole culture changes if you become a giving and receiving society. It's like you think about, say, communities where you have two youngsters who want to get married and the whole community gathers together and they build them a house. Bad. They just get in and do it, you know, and help them set up their gardens, help them get going. And everyone contributes, but nobody asks for anything. Where, you know, you get a cup of tea and some biscuits every day as you work, or maybe a meal or whatever. But there's like this, everybody brings the stuff for the meals and everybody contributes to making sure that the new couple and their children have a sustainable future set up, you know, like, let's go, you know. And what does it take out of each and every one of the people in the community to put in that contribution? So maybe you spend, I don't know, a week or whatever, and you have to work really hard for a week. So 1 week of your time, and they set up for life. That's the sort of community commitment that we need. Anyone else? Now wrap your mind around the above. Okay, sorry. Now, I did a section here where now try and understand who we are. And that was a section that we dealt with last week. And now I've added a few things to this thing. So now wrap your mind around the above negative trends and comprehend the accelerated rates. It's all getting worse. See the rates at which planetary natural maintenance systems are breaking down. See the health of Mother Earth, her lungs, the plant life that gives us the oxygen we breathe, her flowing rivers, the veins of the continent, her atmosphere, her oceans, plankton, plant life, sea and animal life, coral reefs. Her lands are getting worse. We are turning living systems into dead things for one-off dead money. We are killing our world for our insane belief in money, which has little to no energy value. There was at some stage a point where growth outstripped consumption. Now, this is like a really important concept. Before we started to pillage the world as we are, there was a time at some point where the growth of living things was expanding in a time of plenty, where nature was naturally reclaiming semi-desert and desert regions, and it was expanding across the earth as birds ate fruit and dropped the seeds and animals did the same thing. There was this like expansion of life into areas where life didn't exist anymore. So there was this proliferation or explosion of life on the planet. Then there was a time when consumption and regeneration of growth were in balance. So it's like we were consuming and regrowth was keeping up with it. So it was like we were in this endlessly sustainable earth where, you know, we never had to worry because nature would provide. It just kept on doing it. You know, we took, it gave, took, gave. And then Now we consume at a much faster rate than natural ecosystems can sustain themselves with regrowth. That means we're erasing all life to extinction on a planetary level, including ourselves. It's like we had an expanding, living, growing system. Then we reached the point where it was like we're in balance. And then we reached the point where now we're consuming at an accelerating rate as our population expands, and regrowth is just not keeping up at all. And life is dying back. And that's it. That's the end of the line. A continuous growth and consumption system cannot continue to grow on a limited planet with limited ecosystems. It is unsustainable. We cannot consume infinite amounts of a finite world. We cannot continue living this destructive way of life if we wish to survive. We must regain our relationships, love, giving and receiving, balances, and harmonious flow as one with life, and reduce our consumption so that life can reclaim its foothold and start to expand. And we must be part of the contribution to that expansion. Then listen to your inner health and see how you're becoming more unhealthy as food and your lifestyle worsen, and realize that something drastic needs to happen soon before it's all over. You must then understand that change has to happen, or else you and your children and all life on the planetary life-sustaining systems will not survive. All the time, you know that things are getting worse fast. Then think about making the necessary changes. Then ask yourself, if not you, who? And if not now, when? Because the longer you leave it, the worse it becomes and the harder it becomes. I say all of the above because knowing our mistakes and how not to make those mistakes in the future is essential, never to make those mistakes again. Slow-boiled frogs need to know that jumping is an option. But the later or longer you stay in the pot, the less likely or possible of making a successful leap. It becomes harder and harder as time passes until it becomes impossible when it's too late. You're too weak and death is inevitable. The same goes for you taking control and responsibility for your life and making the necessary changes, beginning to transition and transform your life while creating a fair, happy, healthy, and sustainable future. Your window of opportunity is closing fast and faster than you think. So jump. Unfortunately, you have no choice but to jump if you wish to survive and thrive. However, knowing what direction to jump is essential. Jumping into the fire will not serve you. So having the knowledge and the wisdom to make the best and most informed choices once you have decided to jump is crucial. So that leads us to having a guide on your journey is preferable and would also make a world of a difference to the success of your journey. To know the direction to jump, you need to go on your own personal quest for the truth, change, and transformation. That's what the book, Beyond the Age of Ignorance, is all about. To truly seek and uncover the truth, and then to learn another way, then change the way you think and change your way of life, then transform and grow into the future, the new future, based on the new love-based paradigm. You have to be open-minded and willing to go there and ask the questions and go wherever the questions take you. Nothing is beyond questioning and seeking and finding the truth. There can be no holy cows. On your journey, you realize that you create your own reality to a large extent. You'll also realize that the power of the human mind to influence and change energy patterns. You do this with your thoughts, your habits, your subconscious mind, your unconscious mind. And you'll also discover that you can change the world around you. So if individuals can change the world around themselves, then together we can transform the whole world. The next question is, what is that world we wish to create? Now, our big idea here, now that we've traveled this intense quest for the truth, change, and transformation, we realize that we have no choice but to make a positive, focused, and yet fast, non-violent transition to a decentralized, sustainable, love-based way of life, living in connected, giving and receiving small community ecosystems. We will naturally create a growing, living, fair, happy, healthy, and sustainable future for ourselves, our children, and all life on a living Mother Earth. Mother Earth only exists within the connected, love-based, creative, giving and receiving energy of the living universe. Once you see it, you'll understand what I'm saying. But it might be a journey for you to reach that recognition and the understanding that we live on a living planet in a living universe. Mother Nature is the whole natural living ecosystem that sustains our lives. And either we live as one with it and improve on it, or we cease to exist. The rate of its regrowth must keep up with our consumption. And it must even grow more to expand, to reclaim deserts and semi-desert regions and repopulate all of our ecosystems, then grow enough to keep up with our population growth and our growing, increasing consumption. We need to create a truthful, honest, natural wisdom, nature-based religion / education system. I know the word religion because of what is wrong with so many of our religions can be thought of as a really bad word. But throughout history, there have been a lot of natural religions that have proved to help in the journey towards sustainable living systems on the land. So they don't necessarily have to be destructive religions. So based on oneness, connectivity, vibrations, motion, pattern forming, electromagnetic universe, and its natural wisdom, we need to live and move as one with Mother Nature, in alignment with the flows of Mother Nature, seasons, cycles, patterns, and processes, and live in love, balance, and harmony, in alignment with it all, as one with the flows of life and Mother Earth, because anything that's too far out of alignment will not survive. We are expressions of the pattern forming flows and dependent upon other flows of patterns, life forms, for our survival and existence on this complex flow of patterns we call Mother Earth. Yes, we can change to some extent. Life is all about constant change, falling in and out of balance and returning into alignment, then falling out again, balancing, constantly focusing on life's energy, nature, and living in harmony with yourself and the flow of life. If we do not realign regularly, even if it's with ourselves, we end up too far out of alignment with the flow of Mother Nature or our internal bodily flows, and we cease to exist. Then we either die or become extinct, depending on what level, if it's a new internal body thing or it is a planetary thing that we are doing through our dominant paradigm. The sooner we do this, the less we suffer. Alex, anybody, you want to say anything?
No, I'm good. I think you're covering it well.
Okay, good. Being discordant with the natural wisdom and flow of our lives and natural world, we are destroying the natural world with our current way of life based on the imbalance and destructive paradigm perpetuated by our contemporary religions and education systems. It's critical that, yes, media and governments and all of these things are major problems, but the source of the problems begins with the religions, and it's perpetuated and institutionalized to our children through our education systems. And that's what is making sure that this destructive paradigm is continued. So it is vitally essential to our continued existence to change our education systems to a natural education and guidance system. From the Christian national system that's designed to force us into technological wage slaves jobs and create cannon fodder for wars to expand empire and make the rich richer, instead of us being indoctrinated into that, we learn a natural education system and we create this natural education system. And that's what I think is one of my primary purposes, or our primary purposes. To make all of this happen, we need to make it our fundamental vision, mission, and purpose to create and establish a globally accepted new natural wisdom and nature-based education system. Our family and others who have traveled this journey agree that a hands-on life's education on the land is the best way to achieve that. Realignment with ourselves, our bodies, and Mother Nature is the best way to go. I mean, being out there gardening and your children playing around you and learning as you go is like the best possible education you could give your children. They play, they have a place to play because they're on the land. They're safe because you as parents are around, and they're learning as fast as you learning and growing, so are they. That is the ultimate way to create a sustainable future. I mean, I grew up in a sustainable eco-village myself on the foothills of the Drakensberg Mountain. I also went to school in Kings and Nottingham Road. We had horse riding and we had potter's wheels and all these things where we were learning all about how to live sustainably, growing our own food and learning all about horse manure and fertilizer and all these things. And of course, we learned how to read and write and all that sort of stuff. But the natural world which we got to play in was a huge part of our education. We achieved this re-education on decentralized STEVs, STEVs, Sustainable Teaching Eco-Villages. Each STEVE is about decentralized sustainable living spread out on the land in small sustainable communities, within and through which we learn to grow together with nature and help save our world from imminent catastrophe. Living in STEVs is where you, me, and the rest of humanity learn, live, and grow and nurture life and nature around us, growing our world into a fair, happy, healthy, and sustainable future for all life. Knowing how to sustain life, knowing and understanding the basic principles necessary for life, soil, biodiversity, water cycles, the small scale is better than the large scale. Like, for example, centralization is a colossal mistake. For example, large-scale dams means loss of fertile land where the dam is, especially in the valleys, loss of biodiversity, and the killing of all life downstream results in that loss of biodiversity, not just where the dam is, but all the way downstream. And of course, for healthy dams to exist, you need turbulence. If it's not wind oxygenating the water, then ultimately it's far better to have waterfalls, trickling streams across rocks and so on, which are oxygenating the water so fish can grow abundantly in those dams. If there isn't that tumbling and oxygenation of the water, then the fish actually die from lack of oxygen and they suffocate if there's too many of them. Preferably, we should use and reuse energy of small-scale water-flowing migration across the land and through the land as fundamental to sustaining life all over the land. It's like using swales and catchment dams and so on. Large-scale anything physical is a fundamental mistake. For example, centralized cities, major walled countries, borders, large-scale fences are all huge ecological mistakes that we cannot make anymore. We have to change. Anyone want to say anything? 3:48. You have anything to say, Alex?
No, I think it's beautiful. I mean, the importance of certain schooling systems and certain schooling syllabuses and academics. I mean, there are many people that are academically minded, and RT school that just provides, yeah, okay, no, just cut me out. I can't like explain anything like that.
No, I mean, I understand that you can have creative arty schools like singing, dancing, music, all of those things. And the arts are really important as part of community gatherings and so on. I think art is and creativity is really, really important. And I mean, you can make your clay pots all pretty and everything, different glazes and all sorts of things. So, I mean, having that creativity is essential. But I feel that a lot of people, young women especially, are being trained into a masculine, destructive world way of living. So we're training our children, whether male or female, how not to live sustainably and how to continuously destroy your world to make the rich richer. It's like, what are we doing?
Absolutely, and that's what the schooling system is all about. The schooling system is about creating drones to work in the machine cogs to produce more products, to sell, to reap a profit, and count the numbers and money and dots and zeros to continue this consumer-based world. And we teach our kids with technology how to be those consumers of buy instantly, need, want, everything that they see, and all the adverts and social media, and bombarding them with information that will force them to consume more. I mean, this is the world we're raising our kids in. We're not raising them how to turn clay on a potter's wheel. We're not teaching them those things. How many kids in this world actually know how to make a clay pot, to be able to make their own dishes and pots and storage containers and things like that within their own house, let alone to sell to or to use in a sustainable eco-village? I mean, we're not teaching our kids fundamental uses of their environment, their gardens, their lifestyles, and how to create their own from that. Kids need to know that a lot of the things that they buy, they can create, make, do themselves. But a lot of people, I wouldn't say everybody is creative. There's a lot of people that aren't creatively minded, and they would lose out, I would say, in a non-consumer world because they aren't able to give back that kind of creativity that the land requires. But in that sense, they could bring about the building plans and the data and that goes with, there is numbers, there is a source of or a version of data and
a need for mathematics,
a need for that education, some of the education system that we are teaching our kids to be part of the communities, the languages,
reading and writing, like even like creating philosophy. It's like how does this carry on once I'm gone? It only carries on if somebody learned sort of how to read and write and how to do what I'm doing. And so, yes, there will be the philosopher, there will be the medicine ladies and the healers and whatever. So, I mean, within every community, the actual basic needs won't change. They'll be there, and people have to fulfill those needs. So it's not just everybody is only planting seeds. Yes, maybe when it's the season to plant, everyone gets involved. It's like, whether you like it or not, let's go and do this, get it done, so that there's enough for everybody, and everything is shared. It's like, if we do it together, we do it quickly, then we don't have to spend our lives doing it all the time. And the maintenance effort is so much less. So, and then, like, go and practice playing your fiddle, or go and write your philosophy, or write stories, or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, but it starts with a more caring understanding and a connecting environment, that we fully understand people, who they are, what they need, in an environment where we can support them in being that person.
Yeah. So we've got another 5 minutes or so. So I'm just going to go on a little bit, and then and see.
Sure, go ahead.
So let's go. It's essential to know where we went wrong to ensure we don't make the same mistakes again. That's, I think, one of the most important sustainability principles that we need. It's like, this whole journey has shown us, like, oh my gosh, that's a big mistake, and that's a big mistake, and we can't, if we do that, it's not going to work out for us. And it's been a journey of, like, opening Pandora's box and seeing, like, oh my gosh, big mistake, big mistake, big mistake. This is a good idea. It's a great idea. Let's do this, and whatever. So this whole journey has been like sort of the uncovering of the truth, because that is what it was the quest for the truth, so that we could make our own choices and plan and decide on the choices that we want to create the future we want. So it is so important to ensure that we don't make the same mistakes into the future. Then to understand what we are, where we come from, and where we're going, like understanding, like at a really personal level, that we are symbiotic elements of this living world. And if we're not part of it, then we're killing ourselves by killing our world. Then knowing the planetary and universal natural wisdom of connectivity, movement, vibrations, waves, cycles, cause and effect, combining energy to create physical patterns and physical form. It's like, if you know the true nature of nature and of the world and of the universe, none of the lies about, like, the abstract idea of absolute material, because we know at a subatomic realm, all of that is nonsense. So it proves that we've been lied to, and why the focus on materialism and consumption of materials and private property ownership. It's all in alignment with that religious belief about the centralization of power to ensure that the rich get richer. So we've been lied to, and it's really important to know the true nature of everything. So if you know that, you can't be lied to anymore. It's also essential to learn and to know and understand the natural wisdom of your immediate environment, to learn the fundamental principles of human and animal life, moving, living, being, balancing in loving relationships with it all, living in harmony and alignment with life and our world, because these are essential to our continued existence, to ensure that we're not only surviving, but thriving. There is also an energy wisdom, or an essential energy wisdom, that is, some people would call it spirit or soul or whatever, but there is that really important integral part of who we are, like intuition, like those gut feelings and receiving messages and all of that. There's an incredible natural and available to every one of us other side to life itself. And it's really important to know that. Great haste is necessary, realizing that the time left to make this transformation and transition is so short. Being efficient and effective is essential to reaching our goals and ultimate vision as soon as possible. So that, I think, will be what I will do next week. We'll go from there. Efficiency, effectiveness, planning, micro and macro visions of how to do it sustainably, and so on and so on. So I'll go to that one next week. So thank you, Alex, and thank you, Brendan, for being here for me and for supporting us.
Thank you.
Take it easy. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Have a wonderful week.